All right, boys. So here are some facts. Today is my last day of school before spring break. Over the course of this semester, and I mean this school year, really, I have developed quite a heavy caffeine addiction. And honestly, a lot of people sort of just casually like have a caffeine addiction. A lot of people start their day with like coffee, tea, you know, whatever. Uh, you know, and I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. It's a nice little boost, nice little kick to start your day. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's terrible for you. You can add a little bit of like cream or sugar, whatever you're feeling. And maybe that's not the best for you, but not chances are probably not going to affect your health in any like super major way, right? So coffee, tea, they're not like horrible for you. I mean, at least as far as I know. The problem is that my primary method of consumption is, energy drinks, sodas, that good shit. And, it's common knowledge that like energy drinks are not good for you. So I figured it might be a good idea to, maybe stop. And that is what I'm going to be doing over the course of this spring break. And I thought, you know what? Might as well document my suffering and make a YouTube video out of it. And let me just sort of elaborate for a sec because I don't want to completely cut caffeine out of my life for good. What I want to do, though, is go back to using caffeine sort of as like only really having some when I feel like I need it. I'm going to steal an idea from someone else who made a video on, this subject. I do apologize. I'm forgetting who the person is. But I'm not trying to completely just cut caffeine out of my life for good. I just want to stop sort of abusing caffeine and just like having it every day. Because there are bound to be some days where like I'm just really not feeling it, didn't sleep well, really low energy. On those days, then like, yeah, I mean, I'll have some caffeine if I feel like, it could be useful. But, I don't think I really need to say that, being dependent pretty much on caffeine is not a good thing. And I've thought of four like main reasons, I guess, as to why I want to like cut back on caffeine. The first reason is just general health. It's common knowledge that energy drinks are, maybe not the best for you. So I think, if I can just sort of get rid of them or at least consume them significantly less often, chances are that's probably a good thing. The second reason actually sort of ties into the first reason, and that is sleep. I've noticed that lately my sleep quality has just been hot garbage. And, while caffeine, is maybe not the only reason, I can't imagine it's helping. So I definitely think reducing or cutting out caffeine is definitely going to help with my sleep quality. The third reason is actually focus. I have found that lately, whenever I'm doing just an assignment or something, not that I can't concentrate on it, but that it is very difficult for me to concentrate on something for an extended period of time. And that's annoying because it leads to me wasting a lot of time. And, something that would normally take like 6 minutes ends up taking like 40, which is pretty awesome. So I really hope that cutting back on caffeine can help with that because, it's aggravating. And then the fourth reason is just money. Energy drinks cost money. And if I'm not buying energy drinks, then I can use that money for literally anything else. So I'm well aware that the first few days of this are going to be the worst. I've gone through like minor caffeine withdrawals, I guess, before, but I've also never had a dependency to quite this extent. But yeah, I know I'm going to have headaches. I know I'm not going to want to do anything. I know I'm going to be tired all the time. It's going to be great. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I plan to start tomorrow, so I will see you guys then. All right, boys, right off the bat, I would just like to apologize in advance for any background noise or anything like that in this video. It is currently raining outside. But I wanted to record now, so it's what we're doing. But anyway, if somehow you didn't notice, that video clip that you just saw was past me. I recorded that video clip, I think the day before my spring break started this past school year. So it is currently the middle of summer. So I think it's pretty safe to say that I did this whole operation a while ago. And honestly, that video clip kind of has all of the necessary information for you to like understand what's happening. As I've said several times by now, this past school year was kind of tough, right? And that sort of led to me becoming dependent upon caffeine, at least in the mornings, to sort of like wake up and start my day, because I would often because I would often stay up because I would often stay up super late, so I could, get assignments done and actually accomplish things. So, that was almost entirely my fault. So I think what's important to understand is that I'm the victim here, really. But for the first few days of me quitting caffeine, I made a bunch of like vlogs, I guess, just sort of documenting my experience. And I mean, as I said in that video clip, documenting my suffering. So it's pretty cool. But that video clip that you just saw, that was the day before I quit caffeine. So that morning I had caffeine. I just kind of went through, my life as usual. And then, yeah. So this next video clip that I'm about to show you is at the end of day 1. So it's at the end of my first day without caffeine. So here it is. Skibbity bop. All right, so right now it is a little bit after 10 p.m. on day 1. And to be honest, I feel a little bit worse than I thought it was going to feel right now. I don't feel like horrible by any means, but I do have a slight headache currently, and I didn't really expect that to happen until like day 2, but I can't be like super surprised. I spent a good portion of my day at work today, and honestly, it really just felt like a normal day. Like I didn't feel like I was off my game. Um, I wasn't like particularly low energy today. Like it really just felt like a normal day, which I did expect. I did sort of expect like the first day of this to feel pretty normal, and it has for the most part. But yeah, I just went throughout my day, just drank water throughout my day instead of, anything caffeinated. And I didn't really start to have any headaches until like just a few hours ago, but even then, it's really not that bad. But I will say that it's probably because I just haven't really had to do anything. I don't know if this is just me. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. Um, but I feel like headaches are way worse when you have to like, move around and do stuff. But I don't have to do any of that right now, I can just lay down, watch YouTube, vibe. But yeah, so in conclusion, today really wasn't that different from a normal day. I would just drink water instead of garbage. And yeah, it felt pretty normal. Again, slight headache that just started a few hours ago, and it's really not a big deal. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see how I'm feeling tomorrow. Guys, I'm not gonna lie. When I recorded these videos, I evidently didn't really think too much about the format of this video, because I planned on talking between the video clips, but I kind of just say everything that's important in the video clips. So I don't really know what to do. Actually, I will say that throughout this entire thing, I planned on recording every morning and every evening slash night, but sometimes that just didn't work out because sometimes I like didn't have time to record, or I just didn't out of pure laziness. So it's pretty cool. But so like for example, on day 1, I didn't record in the morning because I didn't have time. I had to go to work. So I'm just like I'm very consistent and very reliable with everything I do. Anyway, there's really not much else to say about that video clip. So yeah, I recorded that, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up, and then I recorded this. That hurt. All right, so it is about 10:30 a.m. right now, so about 12 hours after my last this. And yeah, bro, I'm in the same spot, alright? Sue me. You can't expect me to find a different place every time I do one of these. But nothing super noteworthy has happened between the last video and this video. But there were some things that I, should have said in the last video. But I was just, way too tired and couldn't be bothered. Which actually ties in perfectly to the first thing. When I recorded that video, it was around, 10:30 p.m.-ish. And I was significantly more tired than I normally would have been. And the only reason I can really think of is, the lack of caffeine because I got like 9, 10 hours of sleep the night before. So it was definitely not from a lack of sleep, and, everything else about the day was pretty normal. So the only reason I can think of is, no caffeine. So that was something I noticed. But something else that I wanted to talk about was the cravings. Yesterday, throughout the day, I wasn't craving caffeine, but I was just craving like flavor, because as I said, yesterday I went through my whole day just, drinking water. Whereas, before when I would get thirsty, I would get like a soda, energy drink, whatever, right? So there was definitely a part of my brain that was like, yo, what's going on here? But on the other side of that, whenever I would be craving like a soda or something and I would get water instead, something in my brain would be like, yo, that's what's up, dog. You made the right choice, which is a pretty good feeling. So yeah, those were just some other things that I figured I should mention and just, didn't in my last video. All right, so basically, sorry about that. We just teleported and now we got a wall that's green. But yeah, those were two things that I wanted to mention and just didn't in my last video. So, that's kind of a whoops moment. Sorry about that. But yeah, I guess we'll just go through the day today and just like see what's up. I'm not gonna lie. I did just that. Went through the day and I saw what was up. And I also didn't record in the evening, and I explained why in this next video clip. Bruh. Alright, so it is now the morning of day 3, and you might be wondering why I didn't record one of these last night, and it's because I was miserable. Yesterday was rough, to be honest. The morning really wasn't that bad. Didn't really have any headaches, didn't really feel like that terrible. But then a little bit later, I started to have like a headache sort of like start to develop, but it still really wasn't that bad. Then I had to go to work, which did not help my headache at all. And then almost immediately after that, my brother and I went and hung out with a bunch of our friends, and that lasted until about midnight. And while that was a lot of fun, believe it or not, that did not help my headache that much. For the most part during that whole thing, while I did have a pretty bad headache by the end of it, I was able to still like be a part of it and exist. But every once in a while I did have to just like chill out for a few minutes because it was a bit. But yeah, my headache was really bad by the time I got back home. And that's why I didn't record one of these last night, because I was like, yo, no shot. But so far today, I woke up a little bit over an hour ago and my headache has not like fully gone away. But it's certainly not as bad as it was yesterday. I mean, at least not yet. I don't know what the future holds. But I definitely feel like it could get bad if I listen to loud music. So that's currently how I'm feeling and how this whole thing has sort of affected me so far. I'm going to go throughout the day today, see what happens, and hopefully I'll actually record one of these later today. All right, so real quick, just before we get into things, I would like to apologize for this horrendous lighting. And you can probably hear some white noise, just some noise in the background. And that's because I have my fan on and I cannot be bothered to turn it off. So anyway, now that that's out of the way, it's about 3 a.m. right now. I just got done playing Overwatch for several hours. So don't worry, I did this for pretty good reason. So anyway, now let's talk about the day. To be completely honest, there really wasn't anything super noteworthy about today, which I guess in itself is kind of noteworthy. I wasn't particularly tired today. I did have a pretty carb heavy lunch, so I did have that afternoon slump that people talk about. So I did have a little dip in my energy levels in the afternoon. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I really wasn't tired throughout the day. From a little bit after I woke up to about anywhere from 2 to 4 p.m., I had sort of a lingering headache. It wasn't a horrible headache, but as I've said, I think a few times by now, I feel like doing stuff and moving around makes a headache worse, and I really haven't done that much today. So my headaches really weren't that bad today, which was, definitely nice after how I felt yesterday because, I was miserable. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I should say more about the day, but I really can't think of anything else to say. I didn't feel terrible, felt fine actually, and I think that's a pretty good thing. Alright, so in that video clip, I talk about how I wasn't really tired throughout the day. In hindsight, I didn't really need to say that because, as I said, it was 3 a.m. when I recorded that video clip. So I feel like, at this point, it's safe to say that around this time, my like energy levels were starting to like stabilize. Because on like day 1 or 2, I would not have been able to stay up until 3 a.m. No shot. So I don't really talk about it in this video clip because I didn't know it at the time. But this is kind of where most of my symptoms just like end. I had a very minor headache on the morning of day 4, but really not enough to matter, and I say that in this next video clip. But besides that, that's kind of where my symptoms end. I didn't really have headaches after this. I wasn't super tired. I actually have notes from the first like 10 days of me quitting caffeine. And almost every single day after this, I stay up super late because, I mean, it was spring break and there's no reason not to. Yo, y'all ever just see a bird and then you're like, that's what's up? All right, so it is about 12:30 right now. I woke up about an hour and a half ago. That is something that tends to happen when you stay up until like 3 a.m. Currently, I don't really feel any different from how I normally would. I have a very, very slight headache, but really not enough to like get in the way of anything. But today's a bit different from days previous because today I actually have like stuff to do. And I'm curious to see if I'll stay like focused and motivated or if I won't. So I'm interested to see what happens. So yeah, very short video. I had a very small headache in the morning. It probably went away like an hour after I recorded that video. But I briefly mentioned something else that to me doesn't really fall under the category of a symptom for whatever reason, because it's definitely a symptom. I think it's probably just because it's not like a physical symptom, but it's a symptom regardless. I've heard that sometimes when people quit caffeine, they will just lose all motivation to do anything for like a few days, and for some people, like if they're really dependent upon caffeine, it can even last like up to a few weeks. So I wanted to see if that was going to have a strong effect on me or even any effect at all, and I found out that day. That's a funny sound. All right, so it is currently day 5. I think. I'm pretty confident. I'm leaving it up to future me to do the counting, but I'm pretty sure it's day 5. And I have noticed something. Pretty much all of my physical symptoms have gone away. Like, I'm not really getting headaches anymore. I'm not really, like, low energy throughout the day. I don't ache. I never really did during this whole thing, but I heard that happens to some people when they quit caffeine. So all of my physical symptoms are gone, which is cool. But what I did notice yesterday, because as I said yesterday, I had a bunch of stuff to do, my motivation to do stuff just isn't there. Like, I didn't record one of these last night just because I didn't want to. Like, I had no motivation to do anything. And it is possible that, like, a lack of caffeine isn't the reason for me not really having motivation. I could just be being lazy for the sake of being lazy. I do that a lot. Before yesterday, I hadn't really done much for, like, 3 days. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, motivation is very, like, momentum based. Like, I have to do a lot of stuff so then I can be motivated to do a lot more stuff. So those could be 2 other reasons, and then, you know, the third reason could be, you know, I haven't had any caffeine, and that could be contributing to my motivation to do things. So yeah, I thought that was something worth bringing up. But, you know, as I said yesterday, I did have a bunch of stuff to do, and I didn't really have any motivation to do it, and you know, the result of that is me not doing it. So now today I need to sort of do all the things that I was supposed to do yesterday. So I'm going to go do that now. It didn't really go too well, but I definitely don't feel like a lack of caffeine was the sole reason I wasn't feeling motivated. It probably contributed a little bit, maybe a lot, but whatever. But as I said in the video clip, motivation for me is very momentum based, and I just didn't do anything for a few days. So that just resulted in me just kind of wanting to sit. But I feel like I'm correct, because as soon as spring break was over and I was going back to school, my motivation, like, it returned. Like, it was back to normal. Like, I was doing assignments, I was accomplishing things, everything was fine. So I definitely think the main reason that I wasn't motivated was just because it was spring break and I did nothing. But, you know, the lack of caffeine definitely, you know, helped. And obviously when I say helped, I mean helped me not be motivated. So, I mean, if you really think about it, it didn't really help at all. Now, the timing of this is kind of unfortunate because in that video clip, I talk about, you know, how I'm not really motivated to do things. And the reason the timing is unfortunate is because That is my last video clip. Yeah, the morning of day 5 was the last time I recorded one of these vlogs. And I feel like there are two main reasons for this. The first one is what I was just talking about. I wasn't very motivated to do anything, I just kind of wanted to sit. But the second reason was just because there was nothing left for me to talk about. Like, by this time, all of my symptoms had gone away. There was nothing for me to say. So I just kind of felt like I was recording because I should, rather than because I had anything actually interesting to say. But again, I did take notes on the first like 10-ish days of me quitting caffeine. So I did still like document them in some way. It just wasn't in video form. But honestly, a lot of the notes after like day 4 can pretty much be summed up by just saying, felt fine. I will say though that a few of the things that I wanted to accomplish on day 4, I didn't even start until day 8, and then I didn't even finish them until like even later. So that's kind of cool. On day 10, I had a caramel apple that had little pieces of chocolate on it. So I did have a little bit of caffeine on day 10. Chocolate has caffeine, by the way. But yeah, I did have a little bit of caffeine on day 10. And I do feel the need to remind my viewers that my goal throughout this entire thing was not to quit caffeine. It was just to stop like abusing it and having it every day. It's just easier to say quit rather than say that every single time. So I did have a little bit of caffeine on day 10, but really nothing crazy. But like, my mom bought me a caramel apple, dude. Like, I'm not just gonna let it go to waste. But the last day that I documented was my first day back at school because I felt like that was like an important landmark. And as you might imagine, felt completely fine. Everything was completely normal. Really, really groundbreaking stuff. So since that's the end of me documenting each individual day, I'm now going to talk about the effects quitting caffeine had on me overall. Honestly, the two biggest reasons as to why I quit caffeine were focus and sleep. Because as I've said, probably around 300,000 times by now, this past school year was the worst. And I noticed that I was having trouble concentrating on assignments and things like that for long periods of time, which was problematic because there was a fuckload of them. I read somewhere, I forget where, my bad, but I read somewhere that caffeine can have a negative impact on your ability to focus, and therefore, if we just think about it real quick, think about it for a sec. Thanks. Cutting out caffeine would have a positive impact on your ability to focus. So that was one of the main things that I really wanted to improve because it was definitely becoming a problem. I also wanted to improve my sleep because I would have caffeine and then I wouldn't sleep well because I had caffeine, a stimulant that is commonly used to remain awake. So since I wouldn't sleep well, I would then have caffeine the next day, and it was just a vicious cycle. And that's why I waited until spring break to quit, because I could just sleep whenever I wanted to, and I didn't really have any responsibilities, so I could just sit back and let the withdrawal hit me at full force. But quitting caffeine definitely had a positive impact on both of those aspects of my life, on both my focus and my sleep. My focus was significantly better after I quit caffeine. I could focus longer and with more intensity than I could before. Obviously, I would still take breaks every now and then, but there was still definitely a noticeable difference. Something else that I feel like is sort of related to focus is that after I quit caffeine, I could read so much faster than I could before. And that is one thing that I kind of struggle with. Like, I can read just fine. I don't have, like, dyslexia or anything, but I just can't do it super fast for whatever reason. But when I quit caffeine, I could read so much faster, and that was very helpful, especially, like, in school if I ever had to read a book or take notes on something. Before, I would dread doing those assignments because I knew that they were going to take me, like, 3 hours at the bare minimum. But after I quit caffeine, I can't say that it made doing those assignments fun, but, you know, they were at least significantly less miserable, which, I mean, no complaints from me. So quitting caffeine absolutely improved my focus drastically, and it was the same thing with sleep. I was getting tired earlier, which obviously would, you know, make me fall asleep earlier. But not only was I getting more sleep, I was getting better sleep because caffeine, not only does it affect how much sleep you get, but it affects the quality of your sleep as well, in a negative way. So obviously, cutting it out would improve the quality
of your sleep. And it did. All right, so now it's time for me to talk about something that is absolutely buried in irony. Because I just got done talking about how quitting caffeine improved my focus and my sleep and just generally made things like way easier, at least in terms of like school and being able to get things done. But ever since the school year ended and, summer, I've gone back to consuming caffeine, not really every day, but like pretty much every day. And I'm not gonna lie, boys, I'm really not that upset about it. And the reason for that, the reason I'm not really upset about it, is because during the school year, I will like not really set rules for myself, but I'll just be like, yo, don't be a mess, right? But, as soon as summer rolls around, all bets are off. I'm doing whatever I want, whenever I want. And if that involves drinking a soda or energy drink or whatever, I'm going to do it. There is also the fact that during the summer, I don't have to use my brain as much, as much as I do during the school year. And I also generally don't have to force myself to do things that I don't want to do. Because at least for me, I feel like that's when focus is usually a problem, is when I have to force myself to do something that I don't really want to be doing in that moment. And since, like during the summer, since I'm doing things that I'll usually want to be doing, I'll just focus on them and it won't really be a problem, at least for me. Also, during the summer, just like during spring break, I can just sleep whenever I want to. Like I don't have somewhere where I need to be every day, so I don't really have to like set an alarm. So, if I have caffeine and then I'm like up a little bit later, it's really not a problem because then I can just sleep later. But I said this in one of the earlier video clips and I feel like it applies now. I'm not really drinking caffeinated drinks for the caffeine really. I just like the flavor of them, and the caffeine is sort of like a byproduct. Now, during the school year, I was partially drinking like energy drinks and stuff for the flavor, but it was mostly for the caffeine. Like, if they didn't contain caffeine, chances are I would not have been drinking them during the school year. So it's interesting because it shows a change in the reason as to why I'm drinking caffeinated drinks. Because, like, I'm not low on energy right now. Like, it's the middle of summer, I'm getting more than enough sleep, everything's fine, right? But I just like the taste of them, man. And, like, that's really just what it boils down to. Like, it's summer, right? It's summer. It is summer, okay? This is like my break, right? Like, this is time for me to just do stuff, okay? So, I'm just gonna do what I want. And again, if that involves drinking or eating something that contains caffeine, just because I like the flavor of it, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to enjoy it guilt-free. I feel like I should also point out that once the school year starts again, and I'll have, like, responsibilities like a fucking loser, I am not going to be consuming caffeine on a regular basis. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that I will be able to quit again, because it really wasn't that difficult for me. It really wasn't that difficult to quit the first time. And I feel like there are two main reasons as to why it like really wasn't that difficult. The first one, I think, is because I did it during spring break. So I did it during a time when I just didn't really have any responsibilities. Like, I could sleep whenever I wanted to. If I had like a headache or something, I could just go lay down. Like, yeah. And we gotta never let that happen again. And the second reason is because I realized I was nowhere near as dependent upon caffeine as I thought I was. Because before I actually like quit, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos and read a bunch of articles, about quitting caffeine. And a lot of the things I saw were about people who were consuming way more caffeine than I was. I ran the numbers. And it seems that I was consuming about 1,300 milligrams of caffeine per week. Maybe a bit much for a high school student, but still really nothing super crazy. One video I saw, and I wish I could remember who it was, but I just don't, so I apologize. But in one video I saw, this guy was consuming like 1,000 milligrams of caffeine a day, and I'm just like, dude, that's so much. So I assumed that this experience was going to be way worse than it actually was, Probably because I wasn't consuming 1,000 milligrams of caffeine a day. Honestly, I feel like this entire thing was just kind of like uneventful. I initially thought that this video was going to be this massive like project that was going to be this multiple week like journey that I went on, an epic saga, if you will. But honestly, the whole thing was just kind of like whatever. Like it was kind of tough for a few days. You know, had some headaches, was kind of tired. But after those few days, like my life just kind of returned to normal. My motivation came back after probably about a week and like yeah. So sorry. I thought this whole thing was going to be more eventful, but whoops. Regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about my experience quitting caffeine. It definitely improved certain aspects of my life, especially like I feel like I talk about like academics a lot. Like I feel like I talk about just like school a lot, but I think that's because this past year that was my entire life. I didn't have time to just like exist. So that was pretty awesome. But quitting caffeine definitely made like school just way better and way easier too. So that's why I said like I'm going to quit before the school year starts again because just I mean, the pros outweigh the cons. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry that it took longer to make than I thought it would. That was a combination of laziness. And last week, on the day that I was supposed to record this video, the night before, I stayed up until 5 a.m. playing Black Ops Cold War Zombies. So that's my bad. But yeah, I'm still not completely sure how to end YouTube videos. So, bye.